One of the points that you'll hear from Italian officials, both here in Brussels and Rome, is it's all very well for Mr. Moscovici to write letters from budgets, and this is something we heard from Mr. Di Maio, the Deputy Prime Minister, yesterday, to write letters about our budget, but he should come here and see how united the government is. Mr. Di Maio claiming that the market reaction was because they thought, traders, that the Italian government was not unified, and he says that's not the case. The other criticism they have of Mr. Moscovici is that, having been finance minister in France, France was allowed to flout quite a few of these budget rules in the past without any comeback. So the idea that the budget would become such an issue that the European Commission would take unprecedented action and essentially reject it seems to really anger some of these Italian politicians. Now, we had some details in this letter that the European Commission has handed over to the Italian authorities, and specifically to Mr. Tria, the economy minister. They talk about what their concerns are with what they've seen with this draft budget plan. And remember, this is just a draft still. They talk about the fact there's going to be massive increases in government expenditure. Obviously, that's going to be tied to the universal basic income. They talk about the fact that there's going to be no obvious effort to try and more than half the 130% debt to GDP ratio that Italy currently enjoys, if that's the right word. So there are some specific problems that they have with this budget plan. They did have conversations with Mr. Moscovici and Tria, after those conversations, gave a press conference. Here are some of his comments about how those dialogues about the budget were going.
Today we open what we have called a constructive dialogue, starting from differing evaluations on our economic policy. We have acknowledged these different evaluations. We believe we need to give deeper explanations on the grounds of our policy, and we need to explain the structural reform we will carry out with the budget law, and this way we hope to bring our positions close.
Clearly, Mr. Tria, between a bit of a rock and a hard place, he is ultimately not the one running the show. That is the two Deputy Prime Ministers, Matteo Salvini and Luigi Di Maio. They're the ones calling the shots, and they are politically the ones who seem far more willing to have a bit of confrontation with Brussels.
I hear you what you're saying in this criticism, and it's absolutely right that the Italians should say hypocrisy. But the problem is, and this is the problem for Italy, the French and the Germans were breaking rules up to 2006 when no one gave a jot. Everyone just ignored it. Now everyone really cares, and they have done the last 10 years. So unfortunately, Italy is the victim of two things. One, their own overspending, and two, the fact is people look at overspending now in a different way from what they did in the previous decade as well. And therein lies the issue, Willem. It's all right saying, well, everyone else did it. Why can't we?
Yeah, I think no one would really question that is a reality when you look at the situation. The challenge is going to be, over the next few weeks, how do the commissioners, people like Pierre Moscovici, get what they think is necessary? How do they get things into a situation where the market is not going to react quite so rapidly as it did yesterday, for instance, versus how are these Italian politicians who've made these electoral promises going to be able to say to their electorate and their supporters, we stood up to the Commission, we got you what you need in terms of spending plans, in terms of tax reduction, and then leave Mr. Tria in the middle of all this, trying to make the numbers add up and trying to reduce that massive debt pile.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now, to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.